Hi folks, it's Rich here. Hope everyone's well and happy. And it's Saturday. Yes it is. This is a new guitar. It's a new, well, it's obviously not a brand new guitar. It's an Ibanez Gio. Now, why have I bought this? There's a good question. Well, I've been wanting to get a Gem Junior for a while, but being a novice, which I am, as you well know, the tree of life inlays on them. I'm wondering whether I'm having a look down here and I'm going to get lost. That's one thing. Second thing is I've had lots of Ibanez, I'll put it up there a little bit, but not an RG shaped one. So I've had an SA, well, more than one of, but I've had SA 160, 260, 360, 460, 560, S521, S421. I've had Road Core and a couple of other ones as well, but never an actual RG, so this shape is a bit different. So obviously this shape is going to be very similar to the Gem Junior. So that was one. And the other is I've not played an Ibanez for ages, so the very flat, I think it's 16-inch radius, very flat Wizard 3 neck, I've not had my hands on for a long time. So I thought, let's see if I can find something Ibanez-y, a bit like a Gem, that's cheap, and just have a feel for it to see whether I might want it or not. So this cost me £80, and it came with a hard case, a set of strings, and as you can see, it's in good condition. The fretboard needs a bit of a clean, and it could do with a restring. The strings on it aren't awful, but they're not great. So when I change the strings, I will give it a clean polish as well. So £80. Now this is a slightly older model. It's actually got GS200 on the back. Can't find the GS200 like this. I think this is like the GRG140 model. So the first thing to note, it's got a 2-point trem on it, and when I got it, it was floating, and I couldn't get it in tune for the life of me. I've just had to I've taken the back off, and I've screwed the springs right into the body. It could probably do with an extra spring. Put your teeth in, Richard. An extra spring, really. But I've managed to get that flat down there now, and it's not in brilliant tune, but say these strings are pretty old. But I've got a little bit of so I can use that, but just not from a floating point of view. So what else appealed to me, apart from thinking this might give me just a small insight into Gem Junior? The other is I sort of miss my old Squire Bullet with HSS configuration. I'm sure for those of you who've been around long enough will have seen lots and lots of videos in the early days of this channel, and they're all on my beloved Squire Bullet HSS. And I always used to think that there's no place for HSS in Stratland. It doesn't look right. And I stick by that in terms of looks, but in terms of practicality, actually it's good doesn't have an humbucker on the bridge. So you can be tootling along and meet it up on the bridge. And of course this isn't a Strat, so it's okay. So that makes it all okay. So the action's a little bit on the high side. See if I can give you a feel for that. Maybe, maybe not. No, it's not awful, but well, no, it's not awful. Not as low as I would have it. But the thing that surprised me the most is the pickups actually sound okay, really. Like I say, please excuse a couple of things. It is a bit out of tune. I can't get it in tune properly. The ends of my fingers are super gnarly, so they're getting stuck on the strings, and I'm just a shit guitar player. But this is guitar number 92 for me, so I've had a lot of guitars to compare it with, and I'll give you my brief thoughts on it in a minute. Obviously this is clean. Now I've got the volume up here, I've got it down on the amp. Let's do that the other way around, because that is now sounding very unclean. Oh, one thing I've noticed the single coils, there's not that much hum. They're pretty. If I turn the volume right up, the very, very little hum, which surprised me. That's a good thing. So, first thing to say is you do have quite a lot of that sort of stratty sound. The single coils make quite a good strat sound. They're slightly dull and not as bright, so it might be a bit more like, mind you, ceramic pickups in my old Bullet, they were quite sort of round and fat sounding, really. So I'm guessing these are probably ceramics. I don't know, but yeah, I think you've got a reasonable amount of strat tone if you want strat tone, obviously. But they do sound slightly fatter and a bit duller, if you like, a bit more dull. One of the things to note, which seems to be the thing with the cheap guitars, the tone knob. So it's on maximum now. We're out of tune, sorry. Now it's on about 7. Now about 4. Now about 1. So it's almost on or off. Which a lot of cheap guitars are like that, aren't they? So yeah, tone on or tone off. So let me put on the crunchy channel. Hold on. I've had a little move around in my room, so things are in a different place. So excuse me, just jumping in front of the camera for a second. Oh, and again, whoop, big belly. As you know, I don't really play that kind of, even though I'm a death metal man. I was listening to Aborted earlier, but it's not the kind of music I try and learn. Sustains reasonably well. Just take it back off that utter racket for a second. Hold on. Armpit in the camera. No one wants to see that. And hasn't really lost its tune any worse than it was to start with. So I think shop around. I mean, obviously this fretboard's really flat. I'm not used to that at all. the fretboard on my PRS is nowhere near as flat as this, and certainly nowhere near as flat as a Strat. So for anyone who's watching this as a newbie thinking of learning to play guitar, if you're thinking you wanted to play chords a bit more than you want to play lead, you're probably not going to buy this type of guitar anyway, but it's going to be a little bit more difficult to get your fingers flat than it would be if you were to buy a Strat or a Tele, say. But no, I'm impressed actually. I think they're 160, 170 pounds currently new. So yeah, the takeaway for me is the volume knob's pretty hopeless, but hey ho. Sorry, the tone knob's pretty hopeless. The pickups sound better than I thought they were going to. They're not too bad. Certainly for the overdrive kind of stuff, they work well. I think maybe the trem isn't going to put it as out of tune as I thought it was going to be. I did see somebody review one of these actually and said that same thing. 2-point trem's great, so you don't have to bash it hard to make it move. So, you know, maybe it is a reasonably usable, you know, home use trem rather, you know, maybe it's all right. And the tuners are your fairly typical entry-level tuners. They're a little bit notchy, they're not brilliant. It's a plastic nut, but those are the kind of things you'd expect. One thing to note, very light. I haven't weighed it, but I'm guessing that's no more than 3 kilos. And for those in American money, what's 3 kilos? 6.6 pounds. Very light. So, obviously having the body contour is nice as well. So, yeah, Ibanez Gio. Yeah, I was always thinking that seems too cheap and too crap, but now that I've got this and didn't pay a lot of money for it, and it's in good nick, I think a bit of a clean, some new strings. This is a versatile guitar. You can be Hank Marvin if you want to, or you can make a racket on it, and either way I think it works. So watch out for Richard plays to a backing track with this, and we'll see how it goes. Yeah. Ibanez Gio. Thanks for watching. If you did, if you didn't, if you have, if you haven't, if you're there, if you're not.